Hey, real quick, tell me what you think of this.
A general strike would do more in a month than 100 years of voting.
Whew, that is a hot take, but I'm actually here for it. I think that this is such a good premise to discuss. Is a general strike what we need to be doing? I am somebody who has been saying since February of 2025 that we need a general strike. And when I made those videos really early on, when it was apparent to me that Donald Trump and Elon Musk were doing a slow roll coup and that we could stop it with massive numbers of people in the streets, I was quite naive. I fully admit I was very, very naive about the extent of planning, like how big of a lift it would be for us to pull off a general strike. Which is wild because I'm somebody who knows a fair amount about labor organizing history in the United States. I'm somebody who, I don't know, maybe romanticized the Haymarket Affair. And I even knew that leading up to that protest, there was 2 years of planning that went into that. And I was like, let's just get out in the streets. And I think, okay, again, let me back up for a second. I think that we can see spontaneous, large-scale protests, strikes that can shut down much of society. That's what we're watching in Albania right now. I think it's been going on for 30-something days. Okay, I just checked with the AP. This is day 39 of protests in Albania, and they've been really successful. Now, large-scale protests in the streets, not the same thing as a general strike, a labor strike, but these massive spontaneous protests have resulted in the suspension of Ivanka and Jared Trump and Bibi Netanyahu's plan to take over Sazan Island and build a luxury resort / Israeli military base. And it shows that the power of the people really does work. And now what they're wanting is investigations into the prime minister, I believe, of Albania, who is cozy, kissy, kissy with Jared Kushner. According to the Associated Press, these massive protests, tens of thousands of people every single day, every single night, are demanding the resignation of Prime Minister Edi Rama, the temporary replacement of his government, constitutional reforms, and an end to corruption in Albania. Those all sound like things that we really need in the United States, but, replace Prime Minister with president and replacement of the corrupt government, constitutional reform, and an end to corruption. We desperately need all of that in the United States, but we're all kind of sitting on our tushes. I don't want to minimize the fact that there are small scale protests happening all over the place, but I do think that we are really preoccupied with this idea of electoralism will save us, and we are setting aside the more radical acts, the acts that actually require a lot more sacrifice from us, the American people, but the things that have throughout our history gotten us the most significant reforms. How do we get the 19th Amendment and get women the right to vote? How do we get the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965? How do we get the 40-hour work week? How do we get the 5-day work week and get the concept of a weekend? All of that was done through protest, and most of the labor reforms in this country were done through labor strikes. Because the power lies with the people, but we have to come together and exercise it. And I appreciate what this creator is saying a lot because, I got a little bit frustrated with people yesterday and today on social media who seem to once again be falling for a trap that a lot of us fell for very, very early on in the period between when Donald Trump got elected in November and I would say early February of last year. A lot of my content at that time was centering around the fact that Congress can't save us, that people were waiting for a savior. Now, initially, right after the election, there were loads of what I call blue anon. Lots of people call them blue anon. I'm not the person who invented that term, but blue anon conspiracy theories, saying that Kamala Harris was going to overturn the results and she was going to get sworn in right before Donald Trump got inaugurated. All of these conspiracy theories making Kamala Harris into a salvific figure. She's going to come and save us. She's magically going to be president. We're going to figure out that Elon Musk satellite Starlink zapped the election results and Kamala Harris is going to fix all that and magically all of this nightmare is going to go away. When it was clear that that wasn't going to happen, very much people pivoted to Congress is going to save us. The establishment Democrats in the minority in Congress are somehow magically going to save us. And gosh, I just felt like so impassioned in that period of time, trying to get people to understand that they have agency. Y'all have agency, right? That it's never, ever been elected officials who have had power. It's always been us. It's that we loan our little shares of power to our representatives and they govern on our behalf. But the power has always been from us. And we are the ones who enact change. We can't sit on our duff at home and wait for somebody else to come and save us. And I think most Americans have realized that, right? We've seen large numbers of people protesting in the streets. We've seen large numbers of people engaged in mutual aid and community care and daily acts of resistance. But I feel like over the last couple of days, people are kind of falling for it again as we're coming into the midterms. People are trying to make idols out of candidates. Look, I love Zoran Mamdani, but the kind of romance people have with him, guys, no elected official is going to be your savior. No, we should not be making idols out of elected officials. As I said in my video about Graham Plattner, like, it's not the person, it's the policies that are important. The person doesn't really matter as long as they govern responsibly on our behalf and enact the policies. So I got a little frustrated late yesterday and earlier today because I've seen so many people calling for celebrity figures in Maine to run in Graham Plattner's stead. And I feel like people are doing that same thing, looking for a savior. Why do you think that Stephen King or like your favorite huge social media creator or like McDreamy, a TV actor, should be running for Senate? People with no political experience should be serving in the United States Senate. There's so many good people, Andrea Troy, in Maine that Mainers already know about that are career activists and elected officials who have done the work, who have been vetted, who Mainers should be identifying and running and voting for. To see people all around the country be like, oh my God, this seat in Maine is so crucial. And I don't want to minimize the fact that it is, because we basically have to win like 5 out of the 6 seats in the Senate that are kind of a toss-up right now. And they're all really very much a toss-up. And so I understand the pressure, but people act like this seat is so crucial. And if we don't get this, then we're fucked and it's going to be fascism. The seat is important, but it never was going to be electoral politics that saved us, and definitely not some big personality that you've invested in. Somebody that you don't know, you know their persona, you know their brand, you know their novels that they wrote or the TV shows that they played in. Those people are not going to save you. We are going to save ourselves. So I found this creator's video really compelling because labor strikes take a tremendous amount of organization. I've talked about Plan 2028, how the unions are organizing for a big general strike. They're coordinating their contracts and doing all of that foundational groundwork to pull off a big strike in 2028. And it takes years. It takes years of planning. When you see Albanians in protest in the streets, that's very different than saying everybody, like the Polish solidarity strikes of the early 80s. Like, it's very different than people calling off of work for, potentially 18 months. I think it would take less than 2 weeks. The American economy is so fragile. I'm not an economist at all, but like the AI bubble is about to burst. The American economy is just held together by washi tape and not much else. And so I think it would take about 2 weeks of a massive general strike for the economy to go and for the regime to be toppled. And I think we've sort of fallen back on feeling like the midterms are going to save us, who we elect in the midterms are going to save us. That's all really important, but it's just a tiny fraction of how we work to get change in this country. And those more radical things like labor strikes, like the fact that we have control over the economy, if we want to take that control, it's ours, right? The same thing is with our politics. Those more radical things require more work, more energy, more planning, more financial sacrifice on all of our parts, and we haven't really pulled those levers yet. I think we need to be planning in earnest because I think we all need to vote, and then we need to expect that Donald Trump and the Republicans will not respect the results in the midterms. They're doing whatever they can to try and disenfranchise voters now and to, fuck shit up in advance of the midterms. But the real fuckery is going to be afterward, when it is a blue wave again, and when we see Democrats elected over and over. The Republicans and local officials that they've plugged in everywhere are going to find reasons to throw out votes or to not seat officials or to claim that the results are fraudulent, because that's what he literally did on January 6th, you guys. He's going to do it again. We need to be getting our shit together and getting ready to do what Albania is doing now after the midterms. What's your community doing to get ready, right? And then also we need to talk about bigger labor strikes, because I think they will be necessary to do things like get universal health care, to get justice for what's happening now, to tax the super rich and make restitution. I think it's going to require significant disruptions to the economy. McDreamy ain't going to save you. Your senator's not going to save you. we are going to save ourselves. What does that look like? What does it look like for us to understand, to take ownership of that, and to start planning now?